Hello, I'm Cahlen, and today I'm going to be giving an update on how I am making my breakfast nowadays. So, many of you who have been following me are aware that I'm living in my truck and kind of roaming around the wilderness, living on public land and things like that. And I made a video where I described how I make my breakfast, which is basically a hot chocolate drink which has ghee, which is kind of like purified butter fat, and then MCT oil, which is kind of a purified coconut oil. So, and then, I add chocolate to that. So it's like sort of like a hot chocolate drink, which it puts me into ketosis and basically makes it so I don't need to eat anything until early afternoon. So in that video, I was using my solar panels and a large battery, and I was basically heating it using electricity. Now, I have the goal for myself that I want to be able to live not just in my truck, but out of my backpack. So everything that I would need would be in my backpack. And so the key to that is getting it so that everything's very space efficient, and I don't have to carry as many things. So like hauling around a lead acid battery is not going to happen, and solar panels are very large, so that's difficult. So I needed to find a way to heat the water using fuel which I could gather from around me, and I didn't have to carry around with me. So here's my current cook set, and this thing is it's a little bit dirty. It's normally more of this silver color, but the wood around here tends to char things pretty bad. So this is the pot which heats it. But inside of the pot, well, on the top, this is basically a frying pan, and it has a little handle which comes out so you can hold it like a frying pan. It can be a lid too. And inside is my cook set. So this is a portable rocket stove made out of titanium metal. So it's very durable and very light. So basically, this is the base. I put it down for a second. And then you take this part out and you flip it underneath. And now you have kind of a taller situation, and then it all sits inside this thing. And so all I have to do is go around and gather a bunch of sticks, and I put them so they're kind of in here, and I get it lit, and I put the pot up here, and the flame basically heats the water. So I'll show you that in a second. So basically, anywhere you go, most places anyway, you're going to be able to find sticks, and there's really not going to be an end to them. So I just spent about 2-3 minutes walking around near where I'm camped and gathered these sticks, and this is what I'm going to be using to heat my breakfast. So let me show you how I do that. All right, as you can see on the ground here, I have the sticks kind of laid out in the order from thin to thick. The thin is to kind of get it started, and then as the fire starts to rage, you can move to the thicker ones, which are really going to heat the water. As you can see, I already put some of this stuff in the rocket stove already. So I put thicker ones here. These are the ones that are really going to be catching and burning for a long time. And as they burn, I'll just continue putting them in this big circle right here. And then I don't know if this is what this is designed for. I think these holes are more for getting airflow. But I've noticed that if I stick the little sticks in there and I create a little cone, basically in there, that it's much easier to get it lit, and I'll show you how I do that. So actually having a way to start a fire when you're out in the wilderness is an important skill to have, and we have a lot of tools in our modern age which makes lighting fires very easily. I mean, I have a little lighter which I can power with just USB, so I can use a solar panel to charge it. But I don't like to rely on electrical things because those eventually fail. Anything that has a battery is going to fail eventually. And also, who knows, I may lose my source to a way to charge. And so I'm trying to learn how to start a fire in a way that's more sustainable, that I'm not gonna run out. So that'll eventually get to the point where I can make a fire just from whatever's around me, even if I don't have any tools. But at the moment, I'm relying on this thing, which is basically a striker type method. So it consists of this portion, which I open up and it basically holds my tinder. So I can go around and gather dry, like little piece of vegetation, like dry grass and stuff like that, while I'm just like hiking from place to place and just stuff it in here to make sure I have it. But what I'm actually using at the moment is, and I have this little string that I can pull to bring it out, is cotton balls, which are soaked in Vaseline. So I made these all myself. Just got some Vaseline, some cotton balls, very inexpensive, and just drench them in the Vaseline and stuff them down here. So it can hold quite a bit. And the nice thing about this stuff is it lights very easily and it burns for a pretty long time, and it's a pretty hefty flame. So again, this is something that will eventually run out, so I need to practice learning to make a fire without this. But for now, this gets the job done, and honestly, it will last me quite a long time. So the other aspect of this thing is the striker itself. So you can see I pull this thing out, and this is the part that I'm rubbing against the flinty type stuff that's in here. You can see there's a little rod in there, and this thing goes down in this little kind of vent here or slot, and I just go, wow. And so there's a lot of strikers like this. You can get these for very cheap. But the nice thing about this thing is it's in this little cone, so it creates kind of like a shotgun effect where all the sparks are forced to go along the tunnel and shoot in a very precise location. So it makes it much easier to start things. So let me show you how I actually get this little rocket stove going. So my goal is to get this thing lit and then sitting down on top of that cone of sticks that I showed you, because that's what's going to get it started with basically no effort beyond that. So because it's a little hard to use the striker when it's that far down, I'm going to, well, first I'm going to pull this thing apart a little bit to give it a little more surface area, and I'm going to stick it right on top here of this hole. So that gives me easy access, and once it's lit I can just push it in. Let me get a little stick so I don't burn myself when I do that. Now I'm going to take this thing and I'm just going to go like this. And I don't know if you can see. Can you see? Yeah, it's a little bit of fire going there. And so I'm just going to I'm just going to push this in there. So you can see the cotton ball is burning on top of the cone there. Now, sometimes, just to make sure that it actually catches before the cotton ball comes out, I'll stick a few more things kind of over the top of it through these upper holes here. So you can see the fire's going pretty good right now, and that only took about, I don't know, a minute since you last saw this. So at this point I just need to start heating my water. So I take my pot, has this little foldable handle so I don't burn myself, and then I have some water that I gathered from the local river, and that's something I need to filter to make sure that I'm not getting some sort of parasite or bacteria or virus type infection. I can make another video about how I'm doing that. So I just fill this to about the amount of water that I want to use, and then I place it on top of the stove. And at this point, all I need to do is keep feeding sticks in there and get my face out of the smoke and until this water kind of gets near boiling. All right, now while that water is heating up, I like to go ahead and prepare the rest of the drink so that it's ready for when the water's actually near boiling. So I put everything into this thermos, which basically keeps the hot chocolate warm until I'm done with it, which is in the early afternoon. And what I put in this thing is this is sort of I don't know what you would call this. It mixes up a drink. So it doesn't actually fit in the hole, so you have to like kind of screw it on. But the nice thing about it is, if you saw the last video, I had a little like a milk frother, which would mix up the drink. And that's important because fat needs to be broken up into tiny, tiny little globules so that your body can actually digest it. But I don't really want to be carrying around something which has a battery, because that's eventually going to die and I have to keep it charged. So I came up with this solution, because all I have to do every time right before I take a drink, I just have to shake this thing, pretty vigorously. That actually breaks up all the fat in it into little globules, and then I take a drink. So that's a cool upgrade that I did that I'm pretty excited about. And then what I put in this thing is ghee. So this is a huge jar of ghee, which is basically just clarified butter, and has a huge amount of energy, and it doesn't go bad, because all the things like the lactose and the proteins and things like that, which can degrade over time, that's all been removed, so it's just the fat. So this doesn't even need to be refrigerated. It stays good for years, assuming that you're not keeping it in places that are really, really hot, and you're keeping it sealed and that type of thing. So the next thing that I put in is called MCT oil, which is a few of the oil types from coconut oil. And the reason I do that is because MCT is digested by the body very easily and very quickly, and it instantly turns into ketones, which is a form of energy. So that's what puts me into ketosis. Now, ketosis is something which can be difficult to get into. You have to have a very strict diet over a period of days or sometimes weeks before your body actually switches into a ketosis mode. But with this stuff, it basically happens as soon as you drink it. So it's a neat little trick. So last time I was using something called caprylic acid, or the brand was called brain octane. That is one of the fats in coconut oil. It's very specific, and it really is the best one to be using. But it also is very expensive. So I've started using this stuff instead, which has two of the best. So the second best is not nearly as expensive, and there's quite a bit more of it in the coconut. And so using this single bottle lasts me about a month, and now I'm only using, I think, 2 tablespoons of it a day. So that this lasts me about a month with using 2 tablespoons. So now I'm not actually carrying that giant jar of ghee around with me everywhere I go, because obviously it would be very heavy and it's very bulky. So I have this little clean canteen. It's kind of a thermosy type thing. And I just put my ghee in there. So I melt it down. I put the big jar in the sun or something like that to liquefy it, and then I pour it in here. And this thing will last me a couple of weeks. So this is what I actually take with me in my backpack. And then what I'm using right now for the chocolate is something called Coco Moco. I get it from the Health Ranger store. And I was using something which was just pure cocoa powder. And actually, that's what I would recommend to everybody. But the store that I was buying it from no longer sells it. And I'm pretty particular about getting things that are lab tested and things like that. And this is basically the thing that I found, which is lab tested. The downside of this is it has a little bit of coconut sugar added to it, which if you're doing ketosis and you want to be losing weight, you really don't want to be taking in sugar in the morning. And also, there may be even disadvantages to having the sugar because it'll trick your body into thinking, well, we're going to be running on sugar today rather than on fat. But because I'm actually someone who's not concerned about losing weight, and I actually want to be gaining weight, I don't have a problem with the fact that this has sugar in it, and it has the added benefit of making it taste better. This stuff also has some mushroom extracts in it, like I think cordyceps and another kind. Let's see. Ganoderma. I've actually never heard of that, but supposedly it's good for immunity. So that's basically what I'm using. I just add 2 tablespoons of each of the fats to the drink, and then I just pour in a little bit of that of that chocolate powder, and then I wait for the water to be ready. Now my water is near boiling, so I'm going to go ahead and add it to the thermos now. So just pour it in here. Careful not to pour over the edge and burn my hands. So then I will put the lid on and just shake it vigorously for a little bit. And at this point, it's ready to drink. And so I'll just be sipping on this until about 2 in the afternoon until I have my lunch. One thing that I will do, so I like to have it pretty hot when I first put the water in here so that it melts the butter. But once that's melted, then I like to add a little bit of cold water. So I leave about this much left, and then I fill the rest up with cold water so that's actually at a hot temperature, but not too hot that it's going to burn me. So as a recap, here is basically all the things that I'm carrying in my backpack, which allow me to make this breakfast. We have the pot with the rocket stove packed up inside of it. We have the lighter, and this is where I'm storing my ghee. This is where I'm holding the thermos, which is holding my drink and keeping it warm so that I can be sipping on it throughout the day. Here's the packet of chocolate, and that's the MCT oil, and that's where I actually keep all my water. So it's not just for making breakfast, but it's for keeping myself hydrated. So that's the gist of it. That's how I keep myself energized throughout at least half the day. That's where actually I suspect about half of my calories are coming from. And if I keep all of these things full, like if I set out on a backpacking trip or something like that with all these containers full to their max, I think I can last probably about 2 weeks, especially if I'm being careful. So considering how compact all that is and the amount of energy that it gives me, I'm pretty excited about how long I can last out here without needing to go in for refuel, basically. And I also really like the fact that I basically have an infinite amount of energy to use out here as long as there's any sort of plants that are putting off sticks which can burn. So that's how I'm doing all that. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you have any questions or things that you would like me to make videos about in the future, just let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you, and maybe I will make one of those videos. So thanks for watching, and hope to see you next time.